Sometimes when I have an idea for a reel of a topic I want to talk about, I go straight in. Other times I pause and debate and I can't work out how to start. And there's maybe, depending on the theme. So today I'm wanting to talk about grief, growing around grief, disenfranchised grief, and the impact of life experiences, perimenopause, midlife, being childless over 40, or being child-free, but then maybe hitting perimenopause and struggling in some ways. So this is, when I think about grief, when you think about grief, my guess is that you will go to the most obvious, like if there's been a bereavement, and that can really be so painful. And I wouldn't want to undermine anyone's experiences of grief. Everybody's experience is different and everyone's entitled to do what feels right for them when it comes to the sort of grieving process, whatever feels appropriate. There's no wrong way of grieving. And often there's different theories of grief. So there's one model that I'm very mindful of at the moment called growing around grief. And this is of the idea that our grief, you wouldn't necessarily shrink the feelings, the sadness, the pain, the heaviness of what you're feeling over time, but instead that grief would maybe stay the same and your life might expand outside of that, so that overall it's taking up more space. You might be doing more, you might be going places, doing new hobbies and things like that. And that can be really hard to hold on to and believe is possible when you're hit with that grief, when you've had a bereavement, or when you've hit with some really challenging news or a really stressful experience where it's really affecting your mental health, your anxiety, and there's lots and lots of thoughts and lots of things that could be maybe big losses, different kind of losses for you, a loss of maybe how your life might have been, and loss of a person that's maybe not considered, that's maybe where there's not a recognition of that grief. Lots of different situations about this. That is really important to be able to go at your pace, to acknowledge that and have some acceptance and have some understanding and some self-compassion that your feelings are valid and you are entitled to be able to share those feelings with whoever you want or with nobody indeed. And then when it feels appropriate, be able to step into and expand your life and do more things. Now, what I would say can be challenging is that when we may be in this space of sitting with the pain and feeling the pain and sitting with the grief and feeling that, what our brains can sometimes do is see reminders of that everywhere, and it can be quite random. It can be quite just all over the place. So in a lot of groups that I'm in for other women who don't have children, there's a lot of people talking about being triggered because they have been invited to a baby shower, or they have been told news of somebody having a pregnancy, or they're feeling, or maybe the other way around, they're hearing some harrowing news about bad news about somebody else, and that is maybe maintaining some of that stress for them and that overwhelm. And actually it can be really important to be able to allow that person to feel the feelings and allow that person to make choices that work for them. Now, a lot of the people I see are struggling with the fact that it can feel like society exists in a world to prioritise family life and to prioritise children and to prioritise parents, and maybe sometimes women can feel that their value is less because they don't have children, And there's a whole spectrum of people who would have children. They would maybe, you have children, but you've maybe fought for them. You've maybe had some losses along the way, but then you have children and your lifestyle is surrounded by children. Or those people who have chosen not to have children completely by choice, where your lifestyle is not revolve around children at all. And then those people in between who may have attempted to have children but then not been able to for whatever reason. And those people who, like me, who have our life circumstances haven't gone that way. So there might have been times when children might have happened, or we might not have got to the point of having children, but where the life circumstance didn't lean towards that way. So there wasn't a, oh yes, I do definitely want to do it, let's do our very best to have children, or no, I don't, let's just say I'm out of choice, I do not want to have children. I'm in the middle camp, where there's a sense of I don't know, it can feel really tricky, and it can feel really challenging, and it can feel really lonely being in this middle group, because there isn't the expected validation of the losses, and there isn't the liberation of being child free. But there's something about maybe this could be a theme that fits with some people, maybe not quite doing life right, not quite doing it right, and that can feel really heavy, and that can feel like a grief response, and that can feel like really strong at certain times in my life, especially when I have shrunk my life. So there's times when my life feels really small, when maybe I stay at home by myself, I live by myself, so that's the idea. I do like having my own space, but times when I do that, times when maybe I'm not making art, that's a huge thing, and times when I'm not exercising, times when I'm not really looking after myself fully, or when I'm not socialising with people, when I'm not having that close connection. And this is where, like, that focusing on the negative, where it can be very easy to then see more negative. And on one hand, the mindset gurus that say focus on the positive, let's do an affirmation, blah de blah de blah. On one hand, they're saying something of some truth there, but then on the other hand, that could be really, really annoying when you're feeling really crap, when you're feeling really like stuck and perhaps grieving in some way, and at whatever level you're at, there's no scale on this. Like, there's no scale on mental health, there's no scale on grief, there's no prize for the most challenging experience, there's no award when you get out of, nobody's going to get out of this world in one piece. We're all going to be going in the end. So but there's no prizes for sort of pretending to be okay and battling through things when you're not feeling okay. So ultimately, what the Growing Around Grief process encourages is, when it feels right and you're maybe at one point focused on the grief, like sitting with the grief, and then working on moving in your life, living your life, sitting with the grief, living your life, sitting with your grief, living with the life, then as you grow, this pendulum comes further over and you can spend more time living your life. It doesn't stop you remembering. It doesn't make you forget that person or forget the losses that you've experienced. It just makes you step into a new pace of your life, step into a new version of yourself where you can choose what to do next. And that is what feels empowering. And that is what courage is. So if you've watched this all the way through, blooming heck, well done. And thank you for listening. I hope this helps at least one person, as it certainly has helped me in a cathartic way. Night, night, night. Bye-bye.